with Sean Connery bowing out as James Bond, you have 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is one of the more interesting Bond movies for several reasons. One of the earlier instances of a star change in a role, and it's like, how do you address this? Well, they have a wink at the camera kind of moment. George Lazenby, I think, does a pretty decent job here. He's the youngest Bond, 29 at the time they shot this, which makes me feel old as dirt. And quite an adventurous Bond movie, too, because it breaks from a lot of it. We have the same production crew we always had, though there's some different credits. Who was given a guy who felt slighted in a court case got to produce Thunderball, so you don't see the typical broccoli Saltzman kind of stuff, but they're executive producer in those and throughout all this stuff. But the direction is so totally different. This is the most 1969 in James Bond movies. So starts out, Bond is following this girl while he's driving. He's looking really cool. Driving his Aston Martin DBS. This is when Aston Martin was like, hey, we need to copy the muscle cars, so we need this more squared off approach. So they're doing that. But we have this girl driving manic, heads off into the beach, starts walking out there. It's like, what, is she going to kill herself? What is this? Bond catches up with her and say, hey, my name's Bond, James Bond. Then some guys try to fight him, whoops the shit out of him. The fighting sequences here, like 80% of them are awesome, are really upping the ball. The coverage, the way it's edited is okay. The editing is a bit much at times, but there's more close-ups in this Bond movie. It has a special kind of look to it. It looks like this key turning point kind of art house movie at times of the late 60s. Oh shit, there's so many geese over here, I'm gonna get shit on for sure. Yeah, this movie has a special look. It doesn't look like the other Bond movies, period. They broke from a lot of this stuff. Had a guy that did second unit in previous Bond, they let him direct this. And Lazenby's alright. I don't think he has an authoritative voice, though. There's also some issues on set. Might have rubbed some people the wrong way, took a thing to his head. And though they wanted him back and the movie was successful, it was not as successful as Sean Connery. Created some public outcry to have Connery return. Well, so this girl that was heading out to the ocean, her name's Tracy, played by Diana Rigg from the Avengers TV series. So she's a popular get to have as a Bond girl. Whereas usually it's like they have someone undiscovered that they can get on the cheap. She's a pretty popular actress at this time. Anyways, I think she's on Game of Thrones too. Don't really watch that. He's looking around for this guy Blofeld. It's like, hey, you guys, we need to find this guy. This girl's dad is in some crime syndicate stuff. Has some goons try to beat up Bond. Pretty kick-ass fight scene. But when they kind of get him to the lair and try to jump him, the editing is just a little too jarring. Sound effects a little too fantastic. But then Bond gets through the door. He's got this knife he's going to throws at this calendar. Talks to this guy Draco, the girl's dad. And he's like, hey, I need you to, you helped my daughter. I know about that. Doesn't mention the part where they hooked up. He's like, yeah, I need a guy who's going to make love to her a whole lot. I'm like, Jesus, that's a little weird conversation. But you know what? You be a good man for her. I'll give you whatever you want. I'll give you $1 million or something. He's like, hey, I don't need money, but I do need information about Blofeld. Well, you know what? I can tell you about that. Well, so he's smooching up with Tracy. They have a romantic montage bit. Louis Armstrong's final recording plays. We have All the Time in the World. This song, I think, made particularly for this movie, as they're doing this George Lucas love montage, though better than George Lucas. That's happening, and then Tracy's like, you know what, Dad, just tell him whatever you need to tell him. Okay, fine. So this guy Blofeld, he may be this count up in the Alps, I believe, where he's he wants to confirm his knight status or some shit, and it's like, okay, Bond's gonna work this angle where he has this documentation. He's going to go to this college of arms, pretend to be one of their guys, Hilary Bray, and he's going to meet up at this spa location they have atop this mountain where Blofeld, under this Bleuchamp name, whatever, where he's stationed. And actually, it gets a bit of a weird turn here. You know, this is the most late 60s style for a Bond movie, not just in the direction, but the attire. The way Lazenby is dressed, it's like he's got the pirate shirt. But I don't want to be a pirate. Well, you're a pirate. You are a pirate indeed, George Lazenby. And then they have him walking around at this mountain resort, not too dissimilar to the location in last year's Spectre movie. Not too dissimilar. We have a circumstance up there where he's walking around, he's got a kilt, and he's got the sporran, the male purse. I don't even know why I remember what that's called. And he's talking to these girls. All these girls from different countries, different continents, are up in this place. They have allergies. He finds out that they're being manipulated psychologically in their sleep, under psychosis. There's a scheme to have them kill off a whole lot of people through STDs, bacterial warfare. It's like, were STDs so much a thing? Like, this is pre-AIDS. Were the stuff called STDs? Like, or just stuff no one wanted to fess up and admit? Anyways, working the free love angle, I suppose you could say. And there's some psychedelic lights when they're trying to be hypnotized. Well, Bond's hooking up with this chick. Note that, earlier in the movie, Bond was looking at a Playboy, and you see some boob when he's looking, walking around this hallway looking at the centerfold. Well, he takes off his kilt, and this girl's like, "It's true," and you can see some nipple, and it's like, wow, this is the first instance of nudity in a Bond movie. Rated PG. I think this was rated M and then appealed down to PG at the time. So anyhow, that happens. We've got Bond snooping around the area. It's discovered by Blofeld, who should have recognized him, though no one recognizes Blofeld. I think in the novel, this is the first time he meets Blofeld, and that's why he has kind of a smaller setup. But in this way, it's presented in the movies, it's like he's on the run. Doesn't have full use of these Spectre resources. That's why he has more of a meager setup here. But he still has some henchmen. Bond gets away, there's some skiing ensues. There's a chase. This is the first time Bond skis at all. But he skis a lot in several other movies. But we realize now he's a good skier. There's a chase on ice. Tracy comes by. I don't know what the hell she was doing in town. But she's like, "Hey, I'm here." And he's like, "Oh, hey, you got your car with you?" She has a Mercury Cougar. Ford Mercury. It's a Cougar. They get up on this ice, end up doing this chase and participate in this race by accident. Lose the bad guys. Bond proposes to her in a barn. And then the next morning they have to get away. They're being chased. There's an avalanche. Tracy gets captured. Bond gets away, but then has to mount this attack. MI6 is not really down with this. Bond actually tried to resign, but Moneypenny, instead of writing on the memo that he's resigning, wrote that he's requesting 2 weeks vacation. It's like, "Oh, hey, approved." He's like, "Really? You approved my resignation?" He's thinking, but no, it was the vacation. He can't get MI6 the resources, but Draco, Tracy's dad, he will help. He's like, "You sure my daughter's up?" "Oh, yeah, pretty sure. Pretty sure she's captured up there." So they mount this offense. Pretty sweet actions going on here. You know, the way this is shot, this has a beautiful transfer, particularly as it's shown on Hulu. I imagine the Blu-ray does as well. You'll see this looks newer than many of the other Bond films of the time, just in the visual presentation. But they're having their shootout. Stuff's going down. Tracy helps out a bit, fights a guy for a while. they're getting away, but so's Blofeld. Blofeld gets on this bobsled. Bond pursues, tries to chase him a bobsled, then jumps in front of him, holds on to it. It's like the scene at the end of Speed, just about. And then Blofeld gets snared by this tree, just kind of like hits him in the neck, and I guess knocked him out. It probably should have killed him. But then it's like, did anybody ever recover Blofeld? Or were they just like, ah, screw it? Because it's like the guy keeps getting away even though he seems to be dead or caught. But then Bond and Tracy, they have a wedding. Q, M, Moneypenny are there. Moneypenny's crying. And he's like, oh, cheer up, you know, whatever. They get in the car, decked out in roses, flowers. They pull over. It's like, hey, you know, this is... We look a bit absurd over here. Oh, hey, I'm going to give you some flowers. A car speeds by. This gal, I think her name was Brunt. She was one of the people who, like, oversaw the women at the facility. She pulls out, like, a Browning machine gun and starts shooting at him. Oh, Bond's like, okay, we can still get him. We're going to chase him down. Tracy's been shot in the head. She's dead. It's, like, an incredibly somber moment. Really the most powerful, somber moment in the James Bond franchise. Casino Royale be damned. I mean, when Tracy gets killed, it's like, shit. This cop on basically a ship's cop, he's like, he pulls over and Bond's like, no, it's quite all right. She's just resting. We have all the time in the world. And Bond's crying, and then the credits roll. And then a few seconds in the credits, kind of an odd effort to lift up the emotions of the audience. But like I said, this movie was not a flop. Did quite well on a lesser budget than previous Bond. An adventurous Bond. You know, if you're into Daniel Craig, if you're into a kind of action Bond of sorts, a tough Bond who can fight, this really seems like the spiritual successor to what you're seeing right now in many ways. I think that it pulls off a lot of those bits better, actually. I give On Her Majesty's Secret Service 3 out of 4 stars.